I honestly never thought a decade ago I'd ever get to say this again, but fuck, this is going to be fun. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Smodcastle. As you all know well by now, but if you don't, just to fill in the folks that come in late, we are literally feet away from the cradle of civilization. Quick Stop. If you all were smart, you got your drinks and your refreshments at Quick Stop. That was part of the dream of this place. And the dream of this place began the week we went on tour with Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. It was when we came out to do the Asbury Park show at the Paramount. And me and Ernie and Rajiv started having this conversation about like, well, what would happen if we took the end space? And it was just a conversation. So when I got on stage at the Paramount, naturally I was like, we're opening the fucking Smodcastle. Because that's how I operate. Like a lot of times in order to make things a reality, you got to throw your hat over the wall, so to speak. You got to will that shit into existence. But all the will in the world, ladies and gentlemen, of one lone person means absolutely fucking nothing unless you've got support. You're standing in a reality of a dream. I was just a guy that was like, wouldn't it be fucking great if like we came back to the place where it all started and shit? Like there's got to be powerful ley lines under the earth right under Quick Stop. If we have a fucking theater, what could come from? Last time we had a theater, Hollywood Babylon was born. Jay and Silent Bob Get Old was born and stuff. Who knows what could come from it again? It dies right there if it's me left to my own devices, because I'd be like, yeah, that'd be cool. And then I go on with everything else. But mercifully, I am surrounded by people that can make a difference and stuff. And I've known somebody since I was a kid who I used to make pretend with and fucking play with and dream with. And this doesn't exist without him. Otherwise, it's just me going like, we should do that one day. And then one day I drop dead and it never gets done. But the man who literally built the fucking place that you're standing in, the castle keeper himself, deserves all the fucking credit. He was doing this shit during COVID. When he wasn't, don't tell the town, when he wasn't supposed to be doing it. And then, like, when he was done here, he went and fucking rebuilt Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. So he has got a busy fucking year. And he built the place that we're standing in tonight. God willing, this gets to be Ernie's retirement. You don't have to be a fucking builder anymore and throw his back out. He gets to just run fucking Smodcastle. And if it always looks like this, he's going to have a fucking bright future. Give it up for one of my best friends in the world, kids. One of the first people I ever dreamed with. And this is fucking important. It's a very important thing. The most important thing a stranger will ever tell you in your lives. The day you find somebody who's willing to dream your dreams for you, you hold on to them with everything you fucking got. Those people are rare gems. Let me show you one of the rarest gems in the world. Welcome to the stage, Castle Keeper, Ernest O'Donnell, ladies and gentlemen.
I love this man. I love him. I want to publicly, I got to thank the man. He's never forgotten, pretty much with me, where he's come from. He always said we'd do something together. And to do it locally here in a stone's throw away from our hometown, and where Clerks originated in 1994, at first I thought he was nuts. I was like, you want to do what? You're going to retire me? He goes, well, I'll retire you after you build me the Smodcastle, but first you're going to build me the stash. And so I was like, I might get a broken back from both, but I really appreciate you all coming out. I mean, this is great. I mean, it's been a long ride for me and Kev. I mean, I've been there since the beginning. It's almost 45 years now, I think.
Mm-hmm. We met when we were, I was in fifth grade. So wait.
Fifth grade, yeah.
So I was 10. Ernie, we can talk about this now. It was painful then, but like Ernie got left back.
I got left back.
That's how we met. But when you're a kid, you never say that because that's like fucking like, the dreaded, like the scarlet letter and shit. But as adults, like without you getting left back, we never hang out. You're just some tough older boy who I'm scared of that Ernie O'Donnell kid and shit.
Yeah.
But because Ernie got left back, we met, and I was 10, and Ernie was always a little older, so Ernie got a license before me, so I got to learn how to drive on Ernie's truck. My father was like, I guess I should teach you to drive. I was like, Ernie did it.
That's right, old dog.
My father was like, oh, Ernie's going to fuck your mother too, or what? It's like, if he's got him, man.
Grace scared the shit out of me. Listen, I love that woman like another mother, but there's no way I would ever do anything bad about her. But I mean,
are you saying when you fuck it's bad? Because
no,
you're like,
no. Well,
I would never curse her with sex.
Well, let's get it clear. You used to look up to me too, because I was the first one that was bowling before you.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. In a world where we're revealing old secrets and shit, Ernie did. He was brawling Walt.
We'd have those conversations on the phone. Hey, Ernie, how was it, man? What's it like? What do you do? What do you?
Ernie was the astronaut, the one that was just like, I felt a boob. And we're like, what? Right. How could that happen? You're Catholic and shit. And here we are today playing. We're playing like we did like kids. We would go play Raiders of the Lost Ark and shit. I'd be Belloc and he would be fucking Indy Jones and shit. We're going to do that again. I guarantee you we're going to do a reading of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, I'd love it.
And you get to be Indiana Jones.
Kevin's famous line when we were recording on the beta? What was the beta we used?
No, Super 8.
Super 8, right. The only line I really remember is Kevin on a mountaintop. We had this, well, it wasn't really a mountaintop. Tell us it was a mountaintop. He'd be just like, play. His famous line in the whole thing was, Jones!
That's it. That was my line. That was the guy that wrote Clerks. That was his line. Jones! Right. And I'd be like, I'll give you one last chance. And he's like, I have a bazooka. Hopefully our games will be better than that.
Yes.
But yeah, man, we dreamed as kids and shit. And like, oh, wouldn't it be great to do this shit? And we had a mayor of our hometown, Bob Wilson, who was like actually in the movie business. He was a prop master in flicks.
Tootsie was the big one, right?
Tootsie was the huge one, which like it rocked the town's world because it became like a $100 million movie. And the whole town was like, our mayor is in fucking Tootsie. And not even like, just walking past. At one point, he does walk past Dustin Hoffman in the hallway, and he goes, hey, Bob. But he's got a very famous shot in the movie when Dustin Hoffman takes off his wig. He's standing by the camera, and he's the one that just passes out and shit. Yeah. That was our mayor. And we looked up to him, not politically, because he was Republican and shit, but we definitely looked up to him because he was in fucking Tootsie. And his wife had a thrift store, Miss Wig's Trunk.
Yeah.
So it's a tiny-ass thrift store, way smaller than this, like a quarter of this place.
It's the size of the stage, probably.
About that. Jammed with, fucking antiques. But we assumed that since they were married, he would bring props home and that she would try to sell them sooner or later. So every day after school, we would go to Miss Wig's Trunk, where this older woman was trying to sell, like, antique tchotchkes. Right. And we were like, you got any of that Dustin Hoffman shit?
We did get a prop from Mr. Wilson.
What'd you get?
I got a newspaper from Tootsie.
Oh, shit.
Yes, I never told Kevin that.
This is like that Different Strokes episode where
he
gave me something. Wow, man, you got an actual fucking prop.
Yes, and I got a button, some sort of button from some movie. I had no clue what it was. But
you know why you got a prop and I didn't? Your mom worked for the borough.
Ah, yes, my mom was a court clerk for about 40 years.
That shit's political.
Yes. Sorry. Everything's about politics, brother.
It really fucking is. Kids, we're not alone. We don't get to do this without another partner. And that partner goes way back to my very humble beginnings at the very end of this building. When we were sitting around talking, like before we did the big premiere and whatnot of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, we started having this conversation about like opening the space here and whatnot. And we were going to just like, all right, we'll rent the space and renovate it and fucking run the place. But then Rajiv was like, well, I want in. Because he's like, look, I'm old like you. I want to play.
He said that, Raj. I didn't.
And I was like, oh my God, fucking yes. Like,
look at
this is the fucking place.
Look at this amateurist motherfucker right here.
You had your phone on?
That's me.
Castle keeper.
Fucking bullshit.
I said, come fucking play with us, man. Like, that's what this space is all about and shit. Like, just having a good time and figuring things out. And who knows what could come of it and whatnot. So, if at the beginning of COVID, like, if we had signed on just as two renters, we would have paid rent for a fucking year and nothing, as you knew, was open and shit. and we would have the business would have died before we opened the fucking doors. Like we would have been like, it's opening, and then it's like, it's closing. You missed it. Mercifully, our partner owns the building, and so it was like, I'll take the ride with you guys. So rooms like this fucking make that ride worth it. And he's been with us since the beginning. Raj was the guy who was in charge of ordering all the movies in town. So, you know, every fucking time. I always found this fascinating because I'm like, you set the fucking tone for Leonardo, man. Like, people only get to see what you want them to fucking see. So why did you buy 6 copies of Richard Dreyfuss's Let It Ride? Like, shit like that would blow my mind. What's the science here? And also, he would get the adult movies and shit, which were in the big boxes.
The pink door.
He would, yes, the pink door, beyond the pink door in the RST room. So he went up to the city to get those. So I was like, you know, I would tell people, I was like, my boss is in the entertainment business. He goes up to the city to get the fucking movies and shit. So I've known him since I was a kid, since I started working here. Then he went off and had a life, and God bless you, and had family. I was there at his wedding and stuff. Years later, we reconnect over the fucking Smodcastle thing, and people find their place in your life when it's time, when you need them most, and generally speaking, when they need you most as well. That's when it's very mutually beneficial. So, like, hanging out with him for, like, the last year has made me feel like I did when I was in my 20s. I'm just not afraid of getting fired anymore. Like, that's the big fucking difference. Please welcome to the stage our partner, without whom there is no fucking Smodcastle, without whom there's no Quick Stop Groceries. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Rajiv Topper.
Thank you. It's going to be an absolute pleasure to see all you guys here on the first day. It's awesome. I mean, eye-opening experience for me, but you want to introduce them?
I do.
I think that's the key.
I do. We got a special treat for you kids. This is real emotional for all of us. We don't get to do this. You got to, sometimes, you know, as a stoner, you trace everything. You try to trace everything back to the origin point. And some things are impossible to trace back. So sometimes I'm like, how did this all happen and shit? Or how did Clerks happen? And I can trace it back to a certain point where I'm involved. Like, without me, it doesn't happen and shit. But when you can trace your story even further back to like, oh my God, if choices aren't made by absolute strangers, I don't get to do any of this. Years ago, there was a man, he lived in India. He came over here. His family put some money together. Came over here. As soon as he got here, didn't know where he was going to work. A couple days after he got here, the New York Times, I guess, the want ads, had an article where they were like, you know, looking for a yogi. Because what year is this? 1960?
71.
71. So, like, we're looking for a yogi. So, Mr. Topper, the man that hired me, walks in. And the guy goes, oh, you're fucking hired. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, you look the part and shit. So instantly, he becomes a yogi. Like, you know, and that's like the dream. You come to America and you find a fucking job. He found a career just like that. That career led to like him being able to bring his wife over, have kids here, bring his whole family, have multiple fucking businesses. And then one day, go like, there's a Cumberland Farms, you know, in Leonardo that's closing.
RST Video first.
First, was that what it is? Tell
RST
him.
Video first. So
It starts with a video store?
yeah. So we had a video store in Staten Island, branched out on our own, came down to Leonardo, stayed here, and the store next to us closed down. Once that closed down, that became Quick Stop.
So it was a Cumberland Farms.
It was a Cumberland Farms.
So you guys originally had the video store, and the anchor store was Cumberland Farms. So when Cumberland Farms was shutting down,
we were going to be in trouble.
that was it.
Yeah, we were going to be in trouble.
So the only reason you buy Quick Stop is because you're like, fuck, we need people to buy milk in order to sell videos.
We knew nothing about the grocery store.
Because of that decision, and I guess, you know, decision, as we heard, made out of necessity. Yeah. Without the store, it's like, shit, who's going to come buy milk? If they're not buying milk, who's going to rent videos and stuff? A decision is made. They enter the convenience store business. What year is this?
This is 87. 89?
89.
Oh,
Look at her down there.
yeah, mama.
Straight
89. So in 1990, that's when I see an ad in the, I guess it was the Press or the Courier, in the WAN ads about video store clerk. And I was like, oh my God, what a dream job that would be. Fucking watch movies for a living? That's fucking incredible. Even better than making movies, watching movies for a living. So I came to interview for the dream job. And when I came in, the video store was closed. There was a sign that said, go to the convenience store. So I went next door to the convenience store, something I would live for the next 5 years of my life and shit, ever hanging that sign and going next door. So I went next door. So I'm here to interview. And I met Mr. Chopper. He goes, oh, come with me. And he brought me next door. And you know those little like footstools, like, you know, they sell at fucking Target and shit? Like they're tiny. Like if this is the floor, they go up this high and shit. So it's literally just a one-step thing. He had 2 of those. He goes, sit. And so we crouched on the floor, sat down, and you know, he's been doing yoga his whole life, so he's limber as fuck and whatnot. So he could drop right into lotus position. I was like, can I get some help here? I was 20-something. So we sit on these 2 tiny-ass little stools, and we're behind the counter. So if this is the counter of RST Video, this is what you would have seen. People are like, what kind of video store is this? So he was looking at the resume I filled out and whatnot, and he goes, you like movies? And I said, yeah. And I remember he was just like, well, that's a drawback. Because he knew then that I'd be like, I'm going to watch and get the newest movies and stuff like that. So he said, do you know how to like work at a convenience store? I see here you've worked at convenience stores. And I'd worked at a bunch of stuff. So I was like, yeah. I said, I don't really want to do that. You know, I want to work in a video store. I dream about working in a video store. I said, but, you know, I can do convenience store work. And he goes, well, if I hire you for the video store, would you mind from time to time coming over to work at Quick Stop? And I was like, you know, if you ever need me, like in a rush, you know, when I'm not putting videos on the shelves, like, yeah, I could totally come over and help you out. And so he hired me right at that point and stuff. And what I found out was it was really a convenience store job with some side work in the video store. It was a bait and switch, man. I got fucking catfished.
We were still learning the convenience store business.
Yes. They're like, we've just learned it. We got this white kid to work for us. So the job that would change my life, the job that everything is predicated on, the fucking fulcrum upon which the lever of my life rests, comes from a moment where I'm like, yeah, if I have to work at Quick Stop, sure. Yeah, I guess. I don't get that opportunity. I don't get the opportunity to make clerks. I don't get the opportunity to do anything I've done, let alone fucking rebuild fucking Smodcastle or watch as he does it and shit. If Mr. Topper doesn't make that journey, and I told Rhea, Rajiv's daughter, Mr. Topper's granddaughter, like that. At one point, you know, again, such a stoner, I was like, do you realize that, like, if your grandfather, like, doesn't come here, we're all fucked. Like, he's literally our savior. I was like, you don't get born. Like, but I never make clerks, and that's the real crime here, you know? In our house tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is a man who gives us so much fucking honor. The house doesn't deserve it. Standing beside the woman without whom he wouldn't have done anything. Both of my bosses, my spiritual parents, ladies and gentlemen, the people that own the Quick Stop building, hence the building you're sitting in, changed my life and changed all yours. Give it up for Tarlochan and Starla Topper. That was literally worth it. That was worth the build and all that shit. We can all go home now. Good night, ladies and
Get
gentlemen.
the fuck out.
All right, man. Here's to the first of many shows. If I was clever, I would have gotten champagne or something like that, but I never think about that kind of thing in advance. All I think about is, like, I get to talk, and I've done that, and I get to talk some more and stuff. So give it up for your castle keepers, man. Ernie and Rajiv, ladies and gentlemen.